Welcome back to Nick Lyon's Comic Corner, Classic Last Known Classics. This episode number 2025, Doubleshot number 1919. We have the 13th volume of My Empire Rangers and the final trade to discuss for one particular series from the New 52. First up we have, and I want to check this to be sure about this. We have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Volume 13, Necessary Evil Part 3. This contains just 48 to 50 excuse me, of the main comic. One thing I forgot to mention last video for this one is that, for the last volume for this one, the fact that the last volume ended with 3 Rangers in space. So Billy goes to Promethea to get some help with that. Meanwhile, though, by the way, with the end of the storyline, we basically kind of back to status quo with the show because, yeah, keep Zor. If you want to keep Zed briefly imprisoned, fine. Just don't keep him imprisoned too long because he needs to be there for a lot of the events of season 2. Yes. So one of the big things that happen in the book is that you have Adam meeting the Ranger Slayer, aka Kimberly, from the Coilless universe. We also see a brief sparring match between Jason and Tommy. We see a debut of the Red Tiger Zord. Yes, Red Tiger. Yeah, a lot of really fun stuff here. Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Zed is actually, who was briefly in prison, actually is released, and he goes back to the moon, where he basically is back to status quo. And apparently, get this, apparently the Rangers, while they're suited up, they can basically, it's kind of revealed here, it's not really explained in the show if the suits can do this, but the Mighty Morphin suits can actually allow them to breathe in space, and apparently these things come with jets. Something which TV show never explored because they're using Japanese stock footage. So, the ones in space are Aisha, Adam, and Rocky. They're the ones in space. So then we have a version of the Tiger Zord show up with a bunch of other Zord attached to it. And then we have the Ranger Slayer and the Grave Zord. Yeah, and it's all basically set up a big brawl. And each 50 ends with a big shocker. So basically you have the morph. And then we have everybody does their form, and of course they fight this dragon alien. Not dragon, this dog alien. Well, I think it's from the same species as dog and cougar. Yep. Really fun stuff here. And here's the cover for issue 50. It's a gateful cover. Because of course it is. Yep. Issue 50. Yep. We have the massive brawl, which ends Necessary Evil storyline. Yeah, really good stuff here. Yeah, of course, the storyline ends with them basically calling them and basically not hiding the fact that they're Omega Rangers anymore. And of course, they end with the phrase more phenomenal, which I think was a phrase from the show. And then we cut to Zed, where he's back in his palace, and we see his staff as a snake. That's actually something that did happen in the show, believe it or not. Yes, Tommy broke his staff, which, yes, they brought up in the book in the previous volume, and they got it fixed. Zed is basically, it had this light basically pop up here. And returns home along with Draken. Yep, Draken's here for reasons. I think it's Draken, and that's the book. Well, not really. There's actually more here. There's a brief short here about a new dawn for Draken. It is basically, it's only about a few pages. It's like a brief setup for basically something that happened with a spin-off book. But yeah, that was really good. Definitely can't wait to review the final trade that collects the series. Well, for now anyways, they did bring the series back. Alright, next up we have the final trade for the Phantom Stranger. Here's the strange thing about this book. Originally, the Trinity of Sin name was not part of... This is basically the first trade collected trade among us, obviously. I didn't own this book, but I saw this was available on there. Got it anyways. Now, the Trinity of Sin title was not attached to the book until issue 4. When the book first started, it was simply known as Phantom Stranger. Yes, seriously, it was just called Phantom Stranger. Now, this was actually from the fourth volume for the series. Yeah, it basically was retitled to... Like, they changed the name for reasons completely unknown. Yeah, I don't really know why, but it was actually changed with issue number 9. But for some reason, the trade has the title there, despite the fact that was actually not the title of the series to issue number 9. The first trade, this trade here, collects only the first 5 issues along with issue 0. You're thinking, really? Yes, really. Yeah, and here's the interesting comes this book. When the book was known as Trinity of just Phantom Stranger, we had Dan DiDio as the writer of the book. And then starting with issue 8, because he was leaving the book, they switched over to Dan DiMatteis, and I believe he was the writer up until the final issue of the book. Yes, he was. He was the final writer of the book. Now, issue 0, this is pretty much in a way a little bit of this first Phantom Stranger's backstory. Now, here's the thing. The Phantom Stranger in the current continuity was Judas Iscariot. Hence the silver coins. 30 pieces of silver betrayed Jesus Christ for, and yet they made him a Phantom Stranger in this universe. Now, there have been various different backstories for him, but this is the one they went with. Now, I don't have a really big issue with it that much per se. The whole thing with him being Judas Iscariot doesn't come up very much at all, but yeah, that was a new wrinkle for him. Judas Iscariot. Where he basically is tried with the supernatural version of the Question, which, not a big fan of this character, this version of the Question, and of course, Pandora. Yes, the book does feature Pandora appearing for the first 2 issues before she eventually gets her own spin-off book. Here's the strange thing about this book, is that there's a couple major storylines in this one. One major storyline in the book, when it comes to Pandora, when she publishes the book, she is there to do one thing and one thing only: plant the seeds for Trinity War. Yep, that's the only reason why she's there. Because she has found her box, which looks like a freaking skull. And in Trinity War, when she opened that box, that apparently opened the door to Earth 3, the home of the crime syndicate America. Yep, and somehow fear got the 3 Justice Leagues basically put into side the Firestar Major, with the exception of Cyborg, Catwoman, and Batman. Yep. In this book, we see the debut of not only the Spectre, well, basically Jim Corrigan. We see his story here, where he basically is questioning why in the world that the captain, his captain has not found his missing fiancée. And here's the thing. He tells him, she is missing now for 24 hours. Why aren't you searching? He's like, oh, we've been trying. Really? And there's possibly a corruption here. So he decides to quit and basically investigate on his own. And then the Phantom Train shows up, try to give a stop. And this kind of indirectly leads into becoming the Spectre. Yes, and by issue 5, he ends up fighting the Spectre. Which, by the way, the Spectre in the current universe has pants. Yes, they gave him black pants for some reason. I have no idea why they redesigned him like this for. But here's the thing. This is Jim Corrigan, the original Spectre. Not Hal Jordan, the one who was the Spectre of the 2000s, or the one for the late 2000s up until 2011, which was Christmas Allen. No, apparently Dan DiDio decided to bring back the original Spectre. I don't know why, but the thing is, Jim Corrigan had been retired since the 1990s at this point in time. Yes, Jim Corrigan had officially been put to rest. They had killed him. They basically had retired that version of the Spectre. And that version stayed dead. Yeah, Jim Corrigan was gone. Ever since the events of Day of Judgment, I think it was. Yes. It's kind of weird, the fact they did this. We also have the debut of something called The Voice. It's also a version of Shazam the Wizard here. Now, the Spectre, who, yes, like I mentioned, basically they gave him black pants for reasons. Now, Jim Corrigan himself, yeah, they pretty much in a way have retired the character. With the final issue of The Spectre by John Ostrander. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they pretty much in a way, like I said, they fully retired the character. But I'm thinking, did Jim Corrigan himself, like, was he resurrected at some point as, like, a Black Lantern zombie? Shockingly, no. Oh, by the way, it was revealed during Blackest Night that the Phantom Stranger is the only one actually immune to the whole thing with the Black Rings. Yeah, he was the only one. It was revealed that in Free Flashpoint. But yeah, Jim Corrigan had been gone for a long time. And now he's back here as a Spectre. Also, they have in issue 1, we have a meet Rachel Roth, aka the daughter of Azazel. Well, actually, not Azazel. Trigon. Yes, Trigon's daughter. Who, the Phantom Stranger basically has the voice. Or the presence, as it's called. Basically driving him. But this is kind of weird, though. The presence, aka the voice, made his debut in a story featuring the Spectre. Now, why in the world is Phantom Stranger following it? I have no idea. It is by far one of the strangest decisions DC did by basically something associated with the Spectre and give it to the Phantom Stranger. And apparently this is his driving force. Yeah, issue 0 was the post-Flash appearance of the Spectre. Issue 1 was the first appearance of Rachel Roth, aka Raven. Yes, seriously. Or she was on the run. She wanted to basically be safe. And also, this book had also the first appearance of, get this, Trigon. Yep, it was his first Flash appearance as well. He, from what I can tell, hasn't really changed very much. Yeah, they pretty much kept virtually the same character. Now, Rachel Roth herself was only just in this first issue. You might be curious, though, did she ever return to the comics after this? No. She never did. Also, for some reason, Pandora, she was in a lot of this series. Yeah, she was basically in 0, 1, 2, and 4. Yeah. And then pretty much we have issue number 2, we have debut of the Son of Trigon and Terrence 13. Now, this is a character who has been associated with Phantom Stranger since practically his debut. The only problem is, for some reason, they did not make him a skeptic like he was in Pre-Flashpoint. And he has no offspring. Yeah, they reveal he's actually a bachelor. Unlike in the pre-Flashpoint continuity, He was actually married and had a kid. Tracy 13, who was dating Jaime Reyes. Yep, seriously. Yep. So, they're basically dealing with the whole thing. Basically, the whole thing is Sons of Trigon being here. They're just following up with basically. And then we also have appearance by the Justice League Dark in issue number 3. Yeah, then we have this guy called the Haunted Highwayman, who's here for pretty much like the first few issues. Yeah, and then for some reason, I don't know why. Now here's the thing. Apparently it's revealed in issue 3 that Fenn Stranger's got a secret identity. Well, as Philip Stark. Or he's got a wife and kids. Yep. Yeah, and issue 4 basically deals with his life as Philip Stark. Issue 5 is him basically fighting the Spectre when he's basically freaking nuts. Yep. But yeah, that's the opening issues of the series. And that's pretty much it. By the way, the artwork of this book is by Brent Anderson and Philip Tan. This book is fantastic. Yep. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. It's really good. Now, Dan DiDio is definitely a good writer, per se. He's not good at making editorial decisions, per se. Because here's the thing about Dan DiDio. He's basically a person who writes good stories a lot of the time, but when it comes to higher up creations, like ideas, his ideas were utterly ridiculous. Kill out the legacy characters. The New 52 was basically that was all his idea. But this book was really good. Not a bad issue, the whole series. Shockingly, he was only here for first 8 issues. Then he left, hang up the Jan Demonius, and he did pretty much the rest of the series. Interesting that we have him do it. Now you might be thinking, does Jan Demonius have experience writing magical characters? Yes, he does. He wrote Dr. Fate back in the 80s. Yep. He actually does have experience writing the other characters, especially as writing like Justice League. And plus, he did a great job with it. And here's something I find interesting. Did you know this book actually was tied to one crossover during the whole time of its 22-issue existence? Yes. Yes. And here's something quite interesting, though. This actually was a third-wave title. Yes, a third-wave title. The third-wave titles all started with issue 0, with the exception of this book and Talon. All the rest books were canceled after only about 8 issues. Yeah, by issue 7, those books are axed. Now, the strange thing is, it's kind of weird though. Very strange. Excuse me. As I was saying, Phantom Stranger is not really surprising, given the fact Dan DiDio wrote it and people love Phantom Stranger. There's a lot of love for him. I guess for some people, Talon was a bit of a surprise, given the fact that he was virtually a new character. So, and plus, probably another reason why DC didn't axe it, because Scott Snyder started it. Yes, that's probably the reason why they didn't axe it. My final thoughts on the Phantom Stranger Volume 4 / The Trinity of Sin Phantom Stranger. Damn good title. Why can't DC bring this book back? It's a good question. I don't know the reason for it. It's just kind of weird. Also, for some reason, some of the artwork is done by Jay Lee or some other people. In case you're curious, though, was this the first appearance of Phantom Stranger in the current continuity? No, it wasn't. It was actually Justice League Volume number 6. It was actually just after. It was basically like, I think it was like just post time skip, because it was a backup story in the book that basically explored something with Pandora, and that was pretty much his first appearance. Oddly enough, that backup story is not in this book. And here's something you might find irritating. The Phantom Stranger is dead. Yes, for some reason, Infinite Frontier, they came out last year. For some reason, per se, they killed him off. Yep, they killed him off along with the Spectre. Actually, Spectre's still around, but he was part of this group called the Quintessence. Which, yeah. They decided to pretty much spam Issue 75. Now, what story was it they decided to kill him off? Was it the first story? No. Yeah, they got killed by the Great Darkness. Yep, something from the page of Swamp Thing. Which in the... Yeah, so he was killed as a lead into Dark Crisis. I'm hoping they might bring the character back because he's a good character. And I kind of wish they'd given our book because this book was good. Really good. I own the second trade of this thing. You're probably thinking, Nick, why didn't you get this trade to complete your collection for this one? Never found it. I never thought of basically buying it, surprisingly. But damn good book. Yep. So yes, that's a particular view. Next step is going to be Uzi Content Wants to Hang Out. Okay, next video. Bye.